Good evening, dears.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Yes, good evening. Okay, so I hope that you're all preparing for your upcoming SSLC examination. Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, all the best for that. So today, we are very glad to be with you. Today onwards, we will start our unit wise revisions. Today, we will have a special guest, Anju teacher. She is working in Kollam district. She is one among the SRG member and she is also a DRG. Not only that, she is a kite fan. So she is a very popular teacher. And today we are honored and with much pleasure with the presence of our dearest Anju teacher. So I welcome Anju teacher to our SESE program. I welcome Anju teacher on behalf of DO Neyachingara and SESE. Welcome Anju teacher to our program.
Thank you, my dear Lisa teacher.
Okay.
I hope I'm audible to all. Am I clear?
Yeah, yes, you're audible. So now I hand over the mic to you so you can carry on. Welcome once again.
Okay. Thank you, my dear Lisa teacher. So, I'm very happy to be with you all. See, even though I have not seen you all, or even though we don't have a direct contact, you people are still our kids, the kids of my friends. So you are still our kids who are getting ready for the public exam. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. So I hope you are you all relaxed for the exam or you're tensed? Are you tensed or you are relaxed for the exam?
Slightly tensed.
Slightly tensed. Now see, the first thing you need to have is just to overcome all the tensions and need to have self-confidence. That's the first and the only thing you should have. Have a confidence of yourself. Have self-confidence. I can, I do, I will. So that should be the motto when you are going to appear for the public exam. So far, if you have not at all started your revision, it's high time to start your revision. Yet you have time to have a quick revision of all the subjects, and that revision will do for a successful SSLC exam, as you would expect. Okay, so moving on to let's not waste the time. Let's move to the topic. I hope you have the textbooks with you all. Do you have the textbooks with you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, very good. So do have the textbook with you. We are going for the a revision or a revisit to the first unit of our textbook. And along with the textbook, you need to have a pen and a paper to note down the important things which you think you need to be noting down. Okay? So ready for the class? Ready for the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, very good, very good. So now see, here we are going to have a discussion of Unit 1. So the discussion means both me and you people have to come up with your views, with your opinions. It's not just me, the speaker. We are having a discussion. Okay, so let's discuss together the things we have learned or the things we have come across in Unit 1. Okay, so what was the title of the unit?
Glimpses of green.
Glimpses of green. Okay, so by going through the lessons in the unit, what did you do? by going through the lessons of the unit, you had a glimpse of green. You had a glimpse of nature. That's what the title also suggests. See, through this unit or in this unit, you're going to have a glimpse into 3 lessons. And through these 3 lessons, you're going to have a glimpse of nature. Wonderful, the most beautiful nature. See, so in the unit, you have 3 pieces of literature. The first one is Adventures in a Banyan Tree by Ruskin Bond. The second one, The Snake and the Mirror by
Vaikam Muhammad Bashir.
very good, Vaikam Muhammad Bashir, very good. And the third one, a poem, Lines Written in Early Spring by
William Wordsworth.
William Word.
very good, excellent, William Wordsworth. Okay, keeping these 3 lessons in mind, now we are going to have a revisit to the first lesson. What's the first lesson?
Adventures in a Banyan Tree.
Adventures in a Banyan Tree. Okay. So what did you learn? Or can you just give me the theme of the lesson?
Nature is a diverse and beautiful place.
Yes, very good.
It gives us happiness and joy.
It gives us happiness and joy. Very good, very good. And your name, I can see, is Vijay Kumar Rajashekhar. Is that your name or your any other one's account?
It's my dad's name, ma'am.
Okay, good. So can I have your good name, please?
Yes. Gauri Nanda VS.
Gauri Nanda, yes. Yes, I can see from the profile pic. Is that you in the profile pic?
Sorry, ma'am, I couldn't hear you.
See, I can see a profile pic. Is that you in the profile pic?
Yes, ma'am.
See, I would be happy if you all of you would like just switch on the camera. Can we have a face-to-face conversation? All of you. Yes, very good. Can we have a face-to-face conversation? Yes, good. Very good. Come on, come on. Be smart. Open up your camera. Okay. Okay, now see. So now let's have the theme. Let's go for the theme of the lesson. See, in that lesson, according to that lesson, after completing a reading of the lesson, we find that nature has a room for everybody and everything. See, nature has a room for everybody and anything. And the story, when you read the story takes us to the world of unending activities by the various creatures of nature, right? When you just read through the paragraphs, you can see the story takes us a world of unending activities by the various creatures of nature. Of course, you have the main character, the boy, right? And you can see the boy is simply delighted and he's enjoying nature while sitting in the banyan tree. See? So now come on. Let's have a discussion of the topic of the lesson. Come on. Can you just give me the summary of the lesson? Anyone? Anyone? Yes, come up with a summary. Or begin one by one, you can give me the points. Begin the summary. Just summarize the whole lesson.
The story is taking place in Dehradun.
Yeah, right. Very good.
It was his grandfather's house,
Yeah.
and he usually used to read stories while sitting in the banyan tree. The
Yeah.
banyan tree was the most important character in the story. And
Yes.
at once, in an April afternoon, while he was sitting in the banyan tree, he used to see a snake and also a mongoose came face to face, and that
Yes.
led to a fight.
Hmm.
And the mongoose was leading in the fight, and after a few minutes, the snake ceased its struggle and it had died. And there were several occasions the Myna and the crow had came to watch the fight between them, and
Yes.
the crow unfortunately had died because of the thud by the
Snake.
snake.
Yes.
The snake had died at last after struggling, and it was a good fighter and it fight as it can, but the mongoose was very clever and it was an aggressive fighter, so it had won the match. At last, the miner had given a few of congratulations to the mongoose,
Yes.
and it had passed away. When the grandfather heard this news, the grandfather was very happy because the mongoose had won the game, and in this competition, the mongoose had won, and the grandmother had not tell anything when the mongoose stole the egg from the poultry house, and the boy saw it. And at last, in this story, there happened a very beautiful, exciting occasion. The white squirrel gave birth to three white squirrels. The gray squirrel gave birth to three white squirrels, and it was an exciting thing. And because the father was a rat, the rat was grandfather's and had brought from
Bazaar.
bazaar for 4 annas, and the grandfather too was delighted, and grandfather had said that the father of these three white chubby squirrels was the rat, and it could happen because they both belong to the same family. So the story was ending in very delighted way, and it was an exciting story. That's all, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, very good, very good, very well narrated. Now, see, speaking of the incidents that we come across in the story, normally we can divide the story into 3 episodes. The first episode being the boy's acquaintance with the grey squirrel, which of course you missed that. Okay, so first episode is the boy's acquaintance with the grey squirrel, and he speaks in the very first part of the story that his first and familiar friend was a grey squirrel. So the first episode of the story is with the boy's acquaintance with the grey squirrel. And the next episode is the fight between the cobra and the mongoose. And the third episode is about the 3 white baby squirrels. Got it? So broadly, the story can be divided into 3 episodes for your easiness of learning. And when you prepare a narration, this has to be considered 3 episodes. So it will be easier for you to attempt a narration of the whole story. Okay, so don't forget about the squirrels episode. So take a note of these 3 episodes: the squirrels, the gray squirrel episode, and then the second episode is the fight between the cobra and the mongoose, and the third episode is with the 3 baby white squirrels. Okay, now moving on to the so now we had a gist of the story. As you all know, we heard the gist of the story, and now we are going for the possible discourses that can be, as I have suggested now, the first and foremost discourse that can be asked from the lesson is a narrative. A narration of the boy, either on the episode of the great important question that can be asked from this lesson. And then, moving on to the lesson, if we just have a look at the whole lesson, you can see the episode between the cobra and the mongoose is highlighted. And that seems to be the most important part of the lesson and quite exciting and adventurous. That's what the title of the story is, Adventures in a Banyan Tree. So that is the most adventurous episode in the lesson. So that part of the story should be given due importance. So the second question, ask the question of the lesson is a letter written
Ma'am, I can't hear you, ma'am.
Am I not audible to you all?
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Voice is breaking. Am I clear now?
Ma'am, I can hear. I cannot hear sound. Your sounds are breaking.
My sound is breaking. Is that a problem to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a problem to all of you? Now
No, ma'am.
audible? Now am I audible?
Ma'am, your voice is in a high and low pitch. Sometimes it's for audible.
Audible and
Ma'am, your sound is not clear.
Please wait. Maybe her network has some issues. So let us wait for her. Okay. Children,
children, how is it now? How is it now? Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Now, sorry for the interruption, guys. Sorry. See, it was a trouble with my microphone, so I changed it. Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we began a discussion with the various discourses that can be asked, or the possible discourses that can be asked from the adventures in a banyan tree. And the first one was the narrative. As I told you, it was the narrative. And when you attempt the narrative, or when you consider the story, you can divide it into 3 episodes. See, I'm repeating because I was not clear and audible to some of you. So I'm having a repeat of what I have said before. So when you consider the story can be divided into 3 episodes. The first episode is the episode of the gray squirrel, the acquaintance of the boy with the gray squirrel. And the second episode is the fight between the cobra and the mongoose. And the third episode is with the 3 white baby squirrels. So that is how you have to divide the lesson and then go for the discourses. That is quite easier for you to attempt the lessons based on that, or the discourses based on that lesson. Okay. So when it comes to the narrative of the lesson, the narrative can be asked on any of these three episodes, like to attempt a narrative on the boy's acquaintance with the squirrel, a narrative on the fight between the cobra and the mongoose, or a narrative on the three baby white squirrels episode. Okay. And when you go through the entire lesson, you can see the battle or the fight between the cobra and the mongoose is highlighted the most. And that episode is the adventurous episode of all the three. And the lesson is also adventures in a banyan tree. So when you focus on a particular point of the lesson, you need to focus on this particular part of the lesson. And based on that particular part of the lesson, the fight between the cobra and the mongoose, you can also have a letter. A letter written by the boy to either to his friend or to his mother, telling about the fight he had seen, the fight between the cobra and the mongoose. Now imagine the boy is writing a letter to his friend, one of his friends. What type of a letter is that?
Informal letter.
Ah, yes, exactly. Informal letter or friendly letter or a personal letter. So can you just give me the format of the letter? What will you write?
Address,
Yes,
date,
yes,
salutation,
yes.
beginning, apt beginning,
Apt initiation. Okay, good.
then content,
Content of the letter.
then closing,
Closing of the letter.
then yours faithfully with love,
Yes,
etc.
signing of the letter. Okay, very good. And so that will be the next discourse regarding the lesson. And then, speaking about the next discourse, you can have a conversation. A conversation. A conversation for any lesson is possible at any part of the lesson. See? Okay. Someone is presenting something. Okay, fine. Okay. So the next discourse that the possible discourse that can be asked is a conversation. A conversation between the boy and the grandfather, and that can be on two incidents. First is a conversation with grandfather on the fight between the cobra and the mongoose, and the second incident is having a conversation with the grandfather or having a discussion with grandfather of on seeing the three baby white squirrels. So these are the two incidents wherein which we can have a conversation. Okay. Now, what do you think will be the next discourse? Or what do you think that another possible discourse that can be asked from this lesson?
Diary.
Yes, of course. Diary entry. Like conversation, diary entry can also be asked from any part of any lesson. And here, can you suggest an incident or can you suggest an instance to come up with a diary?
The diary entry of the boy after seeing the squirrels, white
Yes.
squirrels.
Yes, the diary entry of the boy after seeing the three baby squirrels.
Describing the fight scenes between the mongoose and cobra.
Yes, exactly. A diary entry after seeing the fight between the mongoose and the cobra. And then don't forget about
After seeing the white baby.
yes, white squirrels, the three baby white squirrels.
The diary entry of the boy after becoming friends with the grey squirrel.
Gray squirrel, yes, after having an acquaintance with the gray squirrel. Okay. So, see, each and every part of the lesson seems to be important when you come across the different parts of the lesson. Okay. And based on your reading of the lesson, you can also attempt a character sketch of the boy. Based on the reading of the lesson, you can also attempt a character sketch of the boy. See, he is the one or he is the main character of the story. He spends his leisure time in the banyan tree. He spends his leisure time with nature. He enjoys the beauty of nature and also the wilderness of nature. He is delighted at he is delighted at the beauty of nature, and he is also excited at the adventurous side also of the nature. So from there you can attempt a character sketch of the boy. Okay. So these are the different possible discourses that can be asked from the lesson. Anything else which that comes to your mind? See, when I was taking my class, when I was taking this lesson in my class, see, I have see 3 sets of boys class. So, see, to make the lesson quite interesting and to make them learn something, I just have to go with some performance activities with them according to their nature. Like boys are always restless, right? They are up to many activities. And so, if we just give them some activities, they are always happy. And so, in order to keep them alive in my class, keep them live in my class, see, I gave them an activity. The first one was to have or to create a running commentary on the Battle of the Champions. To create a running commentary. And I gave them a video in the WhatsApp group. I gave them a video in the WhatsApp group of the fight of the cobra and the mongoose. I gave them the video. I gave them 2 days time. And each group, the class was divided into groups, and they had to present it as a running commentary without looking into the notebook. They have to present it in the notebook, but they have to present it in the class, right? They have to note down in the notebook, but they have to present in the class without looking into the notebook. And that seemed to be quite interesting to students as well as myself, because it was very well presented and the boys were really excited to come up with such a presentation. See? And that part of that lesson, as I see, it's quite interesting. And so take a note of that particular part of the lesson and see that you have you have it in your hand. That particular part of the lesson should be in your hand. Any type of discourse can be asked from that particular part of the lesson. Okay. So that Battle of Champions, that should be the title of that particular episode. Battle of Champions. That particular part of the lesson, mark it as something very important from Unit 1. Okay. Now going for the, if you just pick out the new words. Now always, before going for the revision of a particular part, the first thing of a revision part is to have a quick reading of the lesson. A quick but thorough reading of the lesson. So that's the foremost thing you should do when you are for a revision class. A thorough and quick reading of the lesson. While going for a quick reading of the lesson, note down the new words. Okay? Note down the new words. That is a possible question. Maybe it's for only a mark. Maybe it's only for a mark, but you need to note down the new words in the lesson, like delving, squabbling, aggressive, defiance, mesmerize, then faint, hurled, glisten, writ. All these are some new words that can be asked as a one-word question. And then when you go through the lesson, when you go through the reading, a detailed reading of the lesson, you can see in several parts of the lesson, you can see the degrees of comparison are used. Take a note of it. The tree was older than the house. That's the degree of comparison. Older than grandfather. As old as the town of Dehra. I hope you are familiar with degrees of comparison. Can you just give me the 3 degrees of comparison?
Positive degree, comparative degree, superlative degree.
Ah, yes, very good, excellent. So you have 3 degrees of comparison: positive degree, then comparative degree, and superlative degree. So while reading the lesson, you can see the degrees of comparison are used in several places. Like next is the squirrel became friendlier, the squirrel became bolder. So have a thorough reading. While having a reading of the lesson, take a note of all these things. And also, you can see a collective noun used in one part of the lesson. Can you identify? A collective noun is used in one part of the lesson. Do you remember? Anyone? നോക്കട്ടെ മിടുക്കനോ മിടുക്കിയാണോന്ന്. You want a clue? You want a clue? Clue വേണോ? A collective noun from the lesson?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. From where did the cobra come out?
Bushes.
Clump of catches.
A clump of cactus. Yes, very good. The cobra was seen gliding out of a clump of cactus. So what's the collective noun there? A clump of cactus. Okay. So take a note of that part also, a clump of cactus. Okay. So now, as I told you, have a thorough reading of the lesson. And now that we have discussed the possible discourses regarding the lesson, any doubts regarding the lesson? Any more doubts as we have discussed? ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ പറയാം, ധൈര്യമായിട്ട് പറയാം. Shall we move on to the next lesson then? Ready for the next lesson?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Boys ഒക്കെ എവിടെ? ആരുടെ അനക്കം ഇല്ലല്ലോ. Boys, are you all there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So now what is the next lesson? Yes, good. What's the next lesson? The snake
and
The snake and the mirror.
Yes, yes. Oh, very interesting. A very interesting story. Presented in a humorous manner. Like The Snake and the Mirror by
Muhammad Bashir.
Our own Vaikom Muhammad Bashir. Yes, very good, very good. And see, he was one of the greatest exponents of Gandhian thoughts. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ് എന്തു പറഞ്ഞു, ഭൂമിയുടെ അവകാശികൾ എന്ന പുസ്തകത്തിലൂടെ അദ്ദേഹം പറഞ്ഞു, എല്ലാവരും ഭൂമിയുടെ അവകാശികളാണ്. Each and every creature on earth has its right to live on the earth. And through this story, he humorously presents the terrible experience of a homeopath with a snake. See, Even though experience was terrible, terrific, terrifying, it was presented in a very humorous manner. And as you can see, the story presents a contrast between dreams and reality in many parts of the story. When you read through the story, you can see, and through different parts of the story, you can see the writer presents a contrast between dreams and reality. Okay, now before going to the details of the story, let's have a gist of the story. Can anyone just summarize the story?
The psychiatric is written by Vaikam Muhammad Bashir.
Yes.
It's a mixture of humor and pathos.
Yes.
Story presents a contrast between dream and reality. The protagonist is a homeopath doctor. He had just started his practice. His earnings were meager. He lived in a small rented room.
Yes.
There was no electricity. His house was full of rats, and he tried to live with them. He was a young, handsome bachelor and admirer of beauty.
Yes.
The contrast between the kind of person he was and the kind of person he wanted to be.
Yes.
It's humorous.
Yes.
In his marriage, we can see this contrast.
Yes.
He used to marry a fat lady, but he got a thin, slender girl. It adds the beauty of the story. Suddenly, it just comes in the story. It was terrible and horrible. A snake crawled around his arm. He turned into a stone. At that time, he felt the presence of God. He wrote, "Oh God, to write letters in his heart." Here we can see the helplessness of a doctor. He did not have any medicine in his room. At that time, the snake happened to see a mirror. It slithered into his lap, crept on the table, and moved towards the mirror. In this horrifying moment, the doctor's thoughts were that the snake was an admirer of beauty. His optimism combined with sense of humor helped him to survive the ordeal.
Yes. Yes. Very good. That was very well, and that was very well narrated. The story was very well narrated. May I have your good name, please?
Devika.
Devika. I think, see, Devika, you need to move yourself to a more peaceful place. I think you are surrounded by your parents. You're amidst your parents. Okay. Okay, fine. It's okay for me. No problem. Okay. So that was very well narrated. See? And so now we have a gist of the story. Now, with the gist of the story, we are going to have a detailing of the story. Not much detail of the story is needed, like the adventures in a banyan tree. Okay? So here we have, as I told you, a very terrifying incident is presented in a humorous manner. And while reading the lesson, you come across a contrast between, the writer presents a contrast between dreams and reality. And also, when you come across where the homeopath is in front of the mirror, the homeopath is having a thought about himself. There you can see a stark contrast between the kind of person he was and the kind of person he wants to become. And he also imagines about, or he also thinks about his own wife to be. Anyway, after reading the story, we find that, see, even though it was a terrible incident, even though he was terrified by the snake, it only brings a smile to our lips. See, it brings a smile to our lips. And that's what Vaikam Muhammad Bashir is. He knows how to present a grave or a very serious matter in a very humorous way. And now, speaking about the possible discourses that can be asked. See, I am in a hurry to cover all the lessons in the unit. See, that's why I am going with much speed. Okay. See, speaking about the different discourses in the story, what can be the first foremost possible discourse that can be asked?
Character sketch of the homeopath.
Yes, character sketch of the homeopath. Then
Contrast of the story.
contrast. Yes, contrast of the story. What discourse can be asked from that particular point of view?
Review.
Review, more than a review,
Diary.
a diary entry, of course.
Teacher
Right.
letter.
Yes, a write-up, a write-up. Speaking about the contrast between the dream and reality, speaking about the contrast, the type of man and the type of man he wants to be, all such things can be included in a write-up. Okay. Then comes the diary entry of the doctor. Then conversation between
The homeopath and his friend.
yes. After the terrifying incident, the doctor runs out of his house and reaches his friend's house where he changes clothes. He goes to a friend's house where he changes clothes. So there, the doctor can be having a conversation, or doctor can have a conversation with his friend. So there is a possible discourse of asking a conversation between the doctor and the friend. And then
Teacher letter.
Formal letter to the inspector of the police or
Ah,
the robbery that happened.
yes, exactly. That is the most important question that can be asked from the lesson. An informal letter, sorry, a formal letter, a letter of complaint by the homeopath to the inspector of police on the theft. Okay, so that can be the most important question that can be asked from this lesson. And take a note of all the profiles of all the lessons, okay, of which I am not mentioning now. You have to take a note of all the profile of all the writers in the textbook. Okay, so these are the possible discourses that can be asked from this particular lesson. Okay, is that okay for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
See, this is like a quick revision. More than a quick revision is a very quick revision. അല്ലേ ഇത്രയും സമയം കൊണ്ട് ഒരു മണിക്കൂർ കൊണ്ട് we cannot deal with a whole unit. Anyway, so let's move ahead. So after completing the prose, now we are moving ahead to the poem. Lines written in early spring. Okay. Lines written in early spring by
William Wordsworth.
William Wordsworth. Can you give me something which you know about William Wordsworth? What do you know of William Wordsworth?
He's known for his romantic poems.
Yes, it was not clear. Okay, next person.
He was known as the poet of nature.
Poet of nature. Then
He was a romantic poet.
one of the romantic poets. Very good. Then see, Wordsworth was called the high priest of nature. Okay, when you attempt a profile, you can add these points. Wordsworth was known as the high priest of nature because he was an advocate of nature. He believed that nature and God are one, and he always found solace in nature. He found peace in nature. So that's why in all his poems, you can see he gave due importance to nature. he believed that nature and God are one. There is divinity in nature. Nature is holy. So he gave such importance to nature, and that is why he was given the title the High Priest of Nature. And that is evident in this poem also, lines written in early spring. And when you go through the poem, before going through the poem, let's go through the background of the poem. This poem was written in the backdrop of French Revolution, as you know. You might have come across of such thing in your class. This poem was written in the backdrop of French Revolution, and William Wordsworth was a supporter of French Revolution, but he was concerned about what was going on between men. That means what man is doing to man. So he was much concerned about the doings of man. And now Wordsworth wrote this poem while he was taking a walk through the village of Alfred. See, William Wordsworth used to take such walks because he was an ardent admirer of nature. So, as I told you, he found solace in nature. So, he used to take walks, such short walks. And it is during these short walks he used to compose poems. And this poem was also composed in such a walk while he was taking a short walk through the village of Alfred. And now, see, speaking about the poem, when you just have a first reading of the poem, you can find this is a kind of landscape poem. But when you read it thoroughly, you can see his concern about humankind or his concern about mankind. Because throughout the poem, he puts forward the fact that nature is always happy. Nature is tolerating each other and nature is always happy. And he finds that man is not at all tolerating each other and he is concerned about what man is doing to man. Okay. And so going through the lesson, you can see the lesson, the poem is embedded with poetic devices and figures of speech. The first line itself, I heard 1,000 blended notes. The poem, very first line of the poem begins with a figure of speech. Figure of speech?
Hyperbole.
Hyperbole. Hyperbole. So the figure of speech used in the very first line is hyperbole. And from the very first line, he suggests the divinity of nature, 1,000 blended notes. The very first line denotes the divinity of nature. And coming to the next line, while in a grove I sate reclined. And in that line, you have a visual image. Then coming to the next two lines, in that sweet mood, when pleasant thoughts bring sad thoughts to the mind. Those two lines sets the overall mood of the poem. Got it? Those two lines sets the overall mood of the poem. See, when he looks around into nature, he can see various happiness. There is happiness everywhere. When he looks around into nature, he can see happiness everywhere. And that happiness itself is bringing sad thought to his mind. See, man can also be happy if he is with nature, if he is like nature, tolerating each other. But unfortunately, he's sad about mankind. Man is not at all aware of nature's holy plan. Man is not at all aware that his soul is linked to nature. His soul is linked to the divine. And that is why he is creating such chaos to himself and to his fellow beings. And he points out the instances from nature. See the primrose all together. They are trailing the reeds all together, but every flower is enjoying the breath. The birds around me are hopping. See? So everything in nature are quite happy. They are tolerating each other. They are having their own space. They are creating their own space. And they are happy. The budding twigs, they are spreading out their fan. There is pleasure everywhere. And this is the holy plan of heaven. And this is the holy plan of God. But man, see, man is not at all aware of this holy plan. He is unkind. He is cruel to each other and to himself. So he has reasons to lament. So that's the gist of the poem. Now, when you just list out the poetic devices and figures of speech, let's have a look into the poem and list out the various discourses and various poetic speech devices and figures of speech. See the first 4 lines of the poem. Which are the poetic devices and figures of speech you can pick out?
Hyperbole,
Yeah, very hyperbole in the first
visual
line.
images,
Visual image.
Auditory
Visual image
images.
in the second
Visual
line.
images. Auditory images.
auditory images,
Personification.
Auditory image. Is there a personification in the first line, first stanza? I'm speaking about the first stanza.
To her fair works dead naturally.
No. Sorry, dear, that's the second stanza. I'm speaking about the first stanza.
Okay, it is.
Okay. Any other poetic devices or figures of speech in the first stanza?
No.
See, going to the third and the fourth line. In that sweet mood when pleasant thoughts bring sad thoughts to the mind.
quatrain,
Pleasant thoughts? No. Pleasant thoughts, sad thoughts. Those are contrasting ideas. Pleasant thoughts, sad thoughts, opposite ideas, contrasting ideas. And so, the figure of speech used there is oxymoron. Yes, very good. The figure of speech used there is oxymoron. Take a note of that. Oxymoron. OXYMORON. That means presenting contrasting ideas. Which are the contrasting ideas? Pleasant thoughts and sad thoughts. Okay, very good. Now going to the second stanza. Can you just pick out the figures of speech and literary devices?
personification, alliteration,
Yes, personification. Then
alliteration,
alliteration, of course, alliteration. Then I heard personification and alliteration.
Refrain.
Now see, do we have a visual image in the second stanza?
no,
No. So personification, then you have alliteration, where what man has made of man. That line has alliteration, and that same line is a refrain. One of you has mentioned that. Very good. The same line is a refrain. What's a refrain?
What man has made of man.
Yes. So what is a refrain?
Repeated lines are called the refrains.
Yes. Certain lines are repeated in a poem just to emphasize the idea. To give an emphasis to that particular idea, certain lines are repeated in the poem. Such lines are called refrain. So what man has made of man is a refrain in this poem because that's the last line of the poem again. Okay. So refrain. Take a note of that also. Okay. Now coming to the third stanza. Can you just pick out the figures of speech and poetic devices?
Visual image,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
personification,
Yes. Very good.
alliteration,
Alliteration. Okay. See that third stanza is
Olfactory image.
olfactory image. Mhm. Okay. See, the third stanza is embedded with visual images. Each and every line in that particular stanza has visual images. Okay. Now coming to the fourth stanza.
visual image,
Yes, visual image.
Alliteration.
Alliteration. Okay, fine. And there, of course, see, several movement words are also mentioned. When you write the appreciation, you can mention those movement words in that particular stanza. Like the birds around me hopped and played. So hopping and playing. Normally it's for the children. The children, when they are happy, they hop and play and sing. So like that, the birds are hopping around and playing. So those movement words can be given in your appreciation. Okay. Now moving on to the next stanza. Next stanza.
visual image,
Yes, visual image. Then the budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air.
personification,
Yes, exactly. Personification. Personification. Very good. So visual image and personification. Okay.
Tactile image.
Yes, pardon me. I didn't hear you. I didn't get you.
Tactile image.
Tactile image. Okay, is there a possibility for a tactile image?
Breezy air.
Breezy air. Good, good, very good, very good. That can be considered as a tactile image. Okay, fine. Now moving on to the last stanza.
personification,
Yes.
alliteration,
Alliteration, personification. Then last line is a refrain. Yes. So going through the entire poem, now we listed out the different poetic devices and figures of speech. When you go through the entire poem, you can see the poem is composed of 6 stanzas with 4 lines in each stanza, right? So 4-lined stanzas are called quatrains. I hope you know that. You have heard about it. Quatrains. 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 4-lined stanzas are called quatrains. So here we have 6 quatrains. The poem is composed of 6 quatrains. I hope you got it. Kitty?
yes ma'am,
Yes. So the poem is composed of 6 quatrains, which means the poem is composed of 6 stanzas each stanza consisting of 4 lines. So 6 quatrains in iambic pentameter with the rhyme scheme. What's the rhyme scheme?
AB.
Yes. With the rhyme scheme AB, AB. Okay. So these are the main things that has to be included when you attempt an appreciation of the poem. Okay. Is there anything we left out? Is there something which we left out? Okay. Any doubts? Any doubts?
Ma'am, apart from appreciations, can any kind of discourses come from this lesson?
No, no. The poem is only for appreciation. ഒരു പോയം എപ്പോഴും നമുക്ക് ആസ്വദിക്കാൻ മാത്രമുള്ളതാണ്. സി ഇറ്റ്സ് ഫോർ എപ്രിസിയേഷൻ. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു പോയത്തിന് എപ്പോഴും നമ്മുടെ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുന്ന പോലെ ആസ്വാദന കുറിപ്പ് തയ്യാറാക്കാൻ മാത്രമേ വരത്തുള്ളൂ. ആൻഡ് ദാറ്റ്സ് ദി എപ്രിസിയേഷൻ. സോ അപ്പാർട്ട് ഫ്രം ദാറ്റ്, no other discourses can be asked from this, or no other discourses are possible to be asked from this poem. So from a poem, you need to focus on the comprehension questions and the appreciation of the poem. Okay. There. Any more doubts?
Thank you, ma'am.
Any more doubts? Yes? Any more doubts?
Ma'am,
Yes.
can we expect and write up about nature?
Not from this poem. Right.
Sorry, ma'am, this unit.
Yes, of course, because the entire unit focuses on nature and man. So you can expect a write-up on nature connecting both the lessons. See, adventures in a banyan tree and the second lesson, snake and the mirror. So the question can, yes, I didn't get you. You were not audible. I didn't get you, please. Why? Okay, so a write-up is possible based on both the lessons. So you need to have, now see, when you attempt the when you attempt the exam, you have choices, right? You have choices.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. For every category of discourses, you have choices. For the 7 marks, for the 6 marks, and for the 5 marks, you have choices. And the 7 marks question will be a choice on write-up, and most probably the choice will be between a write-up and a narrative. It's better you opt the കഴിഞ്ഞോ? ഈ ഡാൻസ് ഒക്കെ നമുക്ക് പിന്നീട് ഒരിച്ചിരി നേരം കൊണ്ട്. Okay. See, when you have a choice between a write-up and a narrative, you better opt for a narrative. ഈ ചോയ്സ് വരുമ്പോഴേ അതിൽ നിന്ന് നമ്മൾ സെലക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന അനുസരിച്ചിരിക്കും നമ്മുടെ എന്താണ് പേപ്പർ പ്രസന്റേഷൻ. You go for the best choice. It's better not to attempt the write-up. Write-up എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ you have to give a good introduction. Then you have to have a content of the subject asked, and then you have to come up with a conclusion with your own opinion. That's what a write-up is. But as far as a narrative is concerned, അവിടെ ആ കഥയുടെ ഒരു നറേഷനെ മിക്കവാറും ഒക്കെ വരാറുള്ളൂ from any part of the story. A narration can be asked from any part of the story, which of course you know. You know the story, and it's easy for you to attempt a narration. So when you opt your choices, do opt the best choice. Go for the narration for the 7 marks question. And then when you opt for the 6 marks question, see to the options and then opt for the best answers you can attempt within a limited time, and that can be attempted as with your best effort. Okay. And then for the 5 marks question, diary, notice, all such things can be attempted very easily within a very short time. So attempt all such questions. So your choice is important. Okay. So choose wisely when you attempt the questions. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything more? Anything more? See, I was very happy to be with you all. And see, I am from Kollam. If I had a chance to be with you all, I would have opted for an offline class. An offline class, a direct interaction with the students, I find is the best for the students and for the teacher. See, if ever I get a chance to come to Neyachinkara, I would visit your schools. I would like to see you all face to face because I simply love children and I simply love teaching. നീ എത്ര പേര് വിളിച്ചാലും I would go for that. Okay? Because I love teaching. Okay? അപ്പോൾ ആർക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിലും എപ്പോൾ വേണമെങ്കിലും എന്നെ നേരിട്ട് വിളിക്കാം. If you have any doubts, you can contact me via your teachers. Your teachers have my number. Okay? Do give them a feedback about my interaction. And to be frank, I'm not satisfied because I had only an hour with you all. I wanted more time. I wanted to spend more time with you all. But unfortunately, I know I have to stop my class. Okay. So thanking you all, my lovely, dear little ones. I hope I can be with you all some other time also. Thank you. Are there teachers in the class?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Bye and good night.
Okay.
Bye and good night.
Wait, Nikita. Any of you can give her a good
Thank you,
feedback.
ma'am.
Participants, please get ready to give a feedback. Anyone can. Please come forward. For the last 1 hour, she was with us. So please give her a good feedback. You are the right persons to give her a good. Please.
Let it be a criticism also, teacher. Whether good or bad, let it be a criticism so that I can improve myself in the next class. Come on, children. I'm waiting for you all.
Ma'am, ma'am, your class was a very nice one, very interactive one. Had a chance to learn more about the first unit. Even though the reviews or the recaps was so small, it had given me a very much knowledge about the units. And thank you for being with us for the last 1 hour. Even I'm not satisfied because you are not so long with this, just for 1 hour. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your precious time.
Thank you, teacher, for having spare your valuable time for our children, and we are glad to accept your that great choice. You are willing to see face-to-face classes of our children, and actually, our children are very interactive and. They are a little bit tense, I hope so, because their pre-model exam started and they are getting ready for their public exam. Okay, anyhow, you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye and good night.